Eres todo en mí, el sol que me ilumina y me hace tan feliz.
Hola y qué tal? Today we're going to be making some posole, seafood posole and chicken posole separately. And before we get started, we're going to be making a cocktail that I call Paloma Mateo because it's got a little special twist to it. And no cooking is good without drinking, right? So let's all do this for the glory of God and enjoy cooking. So today, here are your ingredients to start off the drinking, then we'll start cooking. Empty glass, always a horrible thing to see. Let's try and fix that right away. We're going to be putting into it soda, simple syrup, tequila. Apparently we don't like tequila around here, so this is the only bottle I could find. And then the thing that makes it a Matt Riffett Paloma is Grangala, which is an orange liqueur. It's like triple sec, but better. We're gonna add some lime juice, and we're gonna put in some grapefruit juice. So let's hurry, I'm thirsty. So first things first, let's make our juice because that's the hardest part, and in all likelihood, we will end up cutting ourselves if we start with the alcohol first. So we're only going to need half of this. The rest of this we can use to garnish. We'll do our grapefruit juice and our lime juice. Wouldn't it be nice to have an automated juicer? No, that's another piece of equipment that we don't need around here. My lovely bride Tracy had a summer at Williams-Sonoma that cost us more than she made there. So we've got our juices. Simple syrup, don't bother measuring it, just enough to take the tartness out. Our tequila. If you want, you can pour the tequila into the drink. Otherwise, just pour it right down. We'll put it into the drink for today. And as far as our Grangala is concerned, wow, that hasn't been opened yet, that's scary. Let's just put an ounce in. It's pretty thick, pretty heavy, but that'll make it nice. And then stir. When I stir, I usually try to avoid getting grapefruit juice in my mouth, or in my eyes. But I hold the beaker up top so it doesn't warm up what I'm stirring. Because the whole idea is to make it cold. And we'll take our glass. And let's make a little garnish, huh? How about some lime? And it's winter time, so we're going to do antlers. Hello, Emily.
Oh
Come on in.
God.
Yes.
I thought you were talking to Brady this whole time.
I'm an influencer, so shush.
You uploading all this on your YouTube channel?
And we're going to make a special garnish. Say hi, Emily. There's our special salsa tequila garnish. Let's put our ice in first. There you go. Next, I'm going to be doing makeup videos, so stay tuned.
You used my tequila!
And, sorry, I used Emily's tequila. And then let's pour this, if we can avoid the garnish. Oh, doesn't that look pretty? Oh, the only thing we forgot, darn, is the soda or salt on the rim. I don't like salt on the rim, and evidently because I forgot salt or the soda, that's God's way of saying drink up. So now, having made room for the soda, we'll top it off with soda. And there you have a Mateo Paloma, or Paloma Mateo. Cheers. Now we're going to huge amount of ritual for Posole. I don't know any of it. All I know is it's good to eat. I'm making a seafood Posole, which is a little bit controversial. Everybody I speak to who has a Hispanic first or last name, and even some gringos have said seafood Posole, yuck. But it's actually really good. And it came about after we had a week full of eating either red meat or chicken, and we wanted something different. I wanted to make Posole, so we made some seafood Posole. All of our prep work's done, which is why that counter behind me is really congested. And we'll go through ingredient by ingredient, and if you can figure it out from what I say, great. If not, and you want to laugh at me, go right ahead. I just told Emily, don't make fun of me, I'm bored. Before we start our prep, it's always important to make sure that you're at ease and relaxed, otherwise you might hurt yourself. So, cheers. So, as far as our ingredients are concerned, there are all sorts of ingredients here. Let's cover some of them. So we have our chicken, quartered. This is 2 whole chickens. I always tend to make more food than I need because we're feeding everybody. We have 2 pounds of shrimp. We have 2 pounds of scallops. Keep the juice, even though they're melting, that juice is really good. We have a ton of onions. So this is roughly, 8 cups of onions. Shredded lime from 2 or 3 limes. And if you can, hey Braden, welcome. We're live. We're absolutely live. No, we're not live.
He needs help. He's gonna go to therapy.
If you can, get one of these. This thing's awesome. It is a zester, and it'll make zesting really quick. We got this at Williams-Sonoma, of all places, and makes quick work of not just your limes, but also your fingers. So, there we go. And look how pretty that is. Okay. Now, we've got chilies. So we've got ancho chilies. We've got guajillo chilies, if I'm pronouncing that right. We've got Thai chilies, 2 of them. They're very spicy. So, you'll enjoy that. This is all for a red sauce, not a green sauce. And then we have salt, we have 2 cloves, and we have cumin for the sauce. As far as salt goes, it's roughly 4 teaspoons, a pinch of cumin, or 2 pinches, and 2 cloves. We have lots of garlic. And yes, that is pre-done jarred garlic. I have some dried lemon that we're gonna crush up and put in there. We have roughly 4 or 5 tablespoons of dried and chopped sun-dried tomatoes. And what else do we have? Oh, well, you can't have Posole without hominy. So we have a ton of hominy. This is 2 of those big cans. We have some stock. Braden just brought over some additional stock because it's missing. One thing that we don't have that we ordinarily would put into this is fish stock or clam juice. Apparently, Smart and Final down the hill doesn't have either. So we're going to make do. The seafood will have vegetable stock, and we've got plenty of the good juice from these scallops, so that'll be good. And then we have vegetable stock for that, and we're going to use chicken stock for the chicken Posole. So, cheers. We're going to use today 2 of these big stove croquettes. Apparently, they make the mold and then they break the mold. Probably not where that expression comes from. So we have 2 of those. We're going to designate 1 for the chicken, 1 for the seafood, because we're stupid and we can't figure out which one is chicken and which one's seafood. The other things that we will need are our pans for the red sauce, and somewhere there is a food processor back there that we're going to use to make the red sauce. All right, so we're making our red sauce now, and apparently Alexa's really excited about that. So we're going to take a pot of water with just enough water to cover the chilies. We have our ancho chilies, which I know are ancho chilies. Do you know why? You can tell by the dark richness. Nope, because I have a Post-it note to remind me what they are. And there's Emily behind me.
Hey.
And then we have these, the guajillo chilies, which are guajillo chilies because they say guajillo right here. Down that goes. Okay. And then, oh, do you want me to tell you my chilaquila story?
Nah, no.
No, we're not going to do
That's
that.
not for YouTube.
So, anyway, we're slightly covered there. I'm going to do a terrible thing and try and adjust this camera while I'm actually doing this. And if I set this phone on fire, that's great. We can get another one. Thank you, China. All right, so we turn our heat on, and we're going to let that boil. And what we're trying to do is we're going to soften them up so that we can put them in our food processor. We're not going to get rid of all the water. We're going to save some of the water because eventually that will go into our sauce, into the food processor. Now, what I've also done here is I've got my other ingredients that are going to go in. So we have half a onion. This is a yellow onion, but you should use a white onion. We don't care. I've got, what is that? 4 tablespoons of garlic. Yes, it came out of a jar and it's minced. I don't want to do the work. And we've got our salt, cumin, and our 2 cloves. That'll all go into this lovely machine. By the way, our red sauce is brought to you by Cuisinart, another fine addition to our family from Williams-Sonoma. None of whom are sponsoring this just yet, but if they're interested, please, you know where to reach me. And so what we'll do in the interest of time is we will let this boil, and I'll try and get straightened up. Maybe. Here's the thing. Boiling water takes an awfully long time, and the old saying is true, something about a watched pot never boils. So while we're waiting, since Emily took my Paloma Mateo, we're going to make a little cocktail and use that to count the time that it takes to boil those chilies. Now the chilies are going to boil for about 10 minutes, and when they're done, we'll, as I said, reserve some of the broth that they're in, the juice that they've made from boiling in water. And then we're going to make our puree. And we'll throw our puree into a pan for about 6 to 8 minutes, and then the red sauce will be ready. So in the meantime, let's count time. So we've got our boiling going. And as with everything around here, I've forgotten to set a timer. So we're going to figure it out. But you see the stuff that's floating? Bad idea. And let's ask the ever so helpful Jeff Bezos to help us out today. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
That should be enough. And during those 5 minutes, spend them well. Cheers. So, we're still cooking. And our chilies are done. Pull them out. We're going to take the stems and the seeds off. We do our best, even though they're hot, to try and take the seeds out. And so that's what you'll do with each one. You'll take the stems off and the seeds out, and we're going to put them into our food process. Gringo, every time I go to the grocery store, I can't figure out whether the grocery store just has these things that nobody buys, or if they're actually people who secretly come into the store and buy things without me noticing. And one of those things is chilies. There's always, at least in California, there's always a section of the grocery store that's devoted to these dried chilies. And I thought to myself, does somebody crack open a bag of chilies and just munch on them on their way to work? But I'll tell you, rehydrating chilies, it has to be one of the most rewarding things you can do. And it adds great flavor to all sorts of things, most especially cocktails, I'm sure. So while I was taking the stems and the seeds out of the chilies, I was thinking to myself, there must be some story that I can tell you about the history of Posole. And unfortunately, the only thing that came to mind was there once was a man named Jose who didn't like frijoles, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll come up with a good story. In the meantime, we've got our chilies with the seeds removed and the stems removed. We're going to put in our garlic. Yay, garlic. One of God's great inventions. Our salt, cumin, and cloves. And our yellow onion that should be a white onion. And we are going to food process. process away until it's pureed, but guess what we forgot? Guess what we forgot, Brady?
Salt.
Nope. We forgot our juice, which is now everywhere.
What is that?
That is juice from our peppers. And I have to get a towel. All right. Oh, now it looks beautiful. Let's let that blend for a little bit. We'll get our pan ready. It's okay if you get a few seeds in there, add some extra in. And that looks really, really delicious. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've got our genuine Williams-Sonoma all-clad pan. And we're going to put a little oil. Whoop, that didn't work well, did it? Sorry about that. And put a little oil in there. Yay, yay, yay. And let's heat our oil up until it just starts smoking, which is a terrible thing for you. You should never do it. And while we're getting that ready and heating it up, we've got our beautiful red sauce that we're going to cook in our oil. And let's use a little vodka to see how good we are getting here. How good and hot. So while we're waiting and we're bored, let's think of some Posole stories to make up. Nope, can't think of any. So we'll have to come up with something later. All right, so let's make sure this is nice and hot, looks nice and hot, and then in our red sauce goes. Every last drop of that beautiful red sauce, because it was such a pain in the rear end to make. And let's see how that does. And what we want to do is cook it for about 8 minutes. There's a lot in here because I'm dividing it up between two, so let's give it about 10 minutes. Let's ask Jeff Bezos if he can help us out. Hey Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. Thank you, Alexa. All right, so you don't want to watch sauce or saute for 10 minutes, so we'll come back. So occasionally take a spatula and get some off the edges. See how nice that looks. And you want to get it heated evenly in case your stove isn't heating evenly. Be careful that if you're using a plastic spatula that's not silicone, that you don't end up melting it. But nothing is better as a matter of pride than to have a melted spatula in your kitchen. It means you're working. And if you can still hear me, hi Piper, I know, we're making Posole, it's coming. Anyway, reduce your heat to medium or medium-low and let it simmer a little bit. Let the sauce thicken up a little bit, and it'll be extra, extra delicious. About halfway through making this sauce, and it's worth waiting and taking time to do it, because look. Remember how it was all liquidy before? Look how nice and thick that's getting. That's going to add some real backbone to our Posole. And there are some people, I guess, that are partial. I just got inked. There are some people who are partial to green Posole or Posole made with salsa verde, and some who like red Posole. I like this, the red, because it just makes everything so much more flavorful and gives it a lot of character. Plus, the nice thing about a nice thick red sauce or sauce rojo is that you can use this to cut it. Now we're ready to really get started here and get this Posole going. So, we have red and blue pans, our coquettes from stove, and I guess the question for you is which do you want to be seafood and which do you want to be chicken? I'm going to make the blue seafood since blue is the ocean and red the chicken because when you slit a chicken's throat, it turns red. So first thing we're going to do is crank up the heat. Heat. Then we've got our oil. Get our oil nice and hot. If you're on a diet or if you're at all concerned about the amount of oil I'm using, too bad. Olive oil is good for you, they say, and all things in excess are good for you. And maybe that's something I just said. Oh, our timer is going off, which we don't need. Alexa, shut up. All right, so let's make sure our oil is good and hot. I have a little trick around here that I like because I like fireworks. So I take some water and I put it in each pot, and then I will know when my oil is ready because it will pop right out of the pan and burn me. So, what do you think is the first thing we're going to put in these pots? What's the first thing you put in anything that is worth having? Garlic. I just learned that garlic is, or was in medieval times, sort of a peasant's herb. That if you had an herb garden, garlic was meant to be just something that the peasants had. What a shame for the nobility. So we're now popping a little bit, so we're going to put in our garlic. Put in half here, another half here. If you want precise measurements, you should go see a psychiatrist. And so, where is my wooden spoon? We're just going to brown it. Don't burn your garlic. Just get it enough in the oil so that it's aromatic. Nothing is nicer to me than burnt garlic, but most people don't like burnt garlic. So that part's done for our onions. So we're going to do half in here and half in here, roughly. I counted those onions for you earlier, I hope. And we're going to just stir those up so that the garlic gets all nice and mixed in. And we want those onions to soften because this is not a vegetable soup. This is a nice soft soup that everybody can enjoy. What do you think? Should we add salt and pepper? Let's do that now. We have pepper. And I like a lot of pepper. Let's put in a lot of pepper. That's probably plenty. And then salt. Now, I brought this out, which is kosher salt, which is great. But since you're all with me today, we're going to be fancy and we're going to use fisherman's salt. Or as I prefer to say, sel de pêcheur. So, now that we're over the ego part of this, put a little bit of salt in here. Just basically enough so that everybody's ankles swell after dinner and they have to sit and drink and have conversation with them more. Oh, wait a minute. We're in COVID. Nobody's talking to anybody. Now that we've added some salt and pepper, let's just mix it all in. And when you start to see the onions turn brown or caramelize, that's when you know you're pretty much where you need to be. I don't know why the blue pan seems to be taking longer. So we'll let those cook, and we'll be back. Now we're going to add our secret ingredient. 1 Thai chili, 1 Thai chili. And we're also going to add our lime. The lime is awesome. Add some citrus. And you're such a nerd, Mr. Riffit. And what we're going to do as well, while we're at it, is we're going to take dried lemon and grate just a little bit of it, not a lot, otherwise it'll be too lemony. It sure is. Oops.
Oh, and Artie too?
And Artie too. Okay, there's that. And then let's do half and half of these sun-dried tomatoes, which is oh so beautiful. I love sun-dried tomatoes. As you can tell, everything is thoroughly measured. Okay, where are we? So let's stir all that up so these flavors get all sort of mixed in. but we don't want it to cook. So let's just let our sun-dried tomatoes soften a little bit, and then we'll add our stock. Now, if you found for some reason that you don't have enough broth for your soup because you've got way too much hominy, or you've got way too much chicken, or you've got way too much pork, or way too much whatever you're putting into it, seafood, then what you can do is add water, or you can add more stock. You've just got to figure out a balance between what's going to make the soup overwhelmingly salty and brothy, or what it ought to be, which is a lighter, spicy, refreshing soup. Did I just say soup is refreshing? Yeah, it can be. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to let these boil. And then when they boil, we're going to immediately reduce our temperature because we don't want any of this good liquid to boil away, really. Because I've got a lot of hominy to add to this. Why do I have a lot of hominy? Because hominy's good. We've got 2 chickens and they're quartered. In you go. Bye, ladies. I assume you're ladies. I put the meat in first because the meat is pretty important to have in there. So the second thing we're going to put in is our hominy. And we have a lot of hominy. And that's roughly half. And there we go. Look, that's what you should have, is all your ingredients should just sit right below the surface. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover that puppy and add the sauce at the very end when we're ready to bring it off the stove. I should mention to you that what we've done is we've covered the pot and we're bringing it back to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, then we'll reduce the temperature to a little simmer, but keep it covered so you don't lose any of that good liquid. And will you look at that? Our seafood broth is all set to go. So let's add our seafood. We've got scallops, 2 pounds. Remember, we're adding in there all of that wonderful juice. We have shrimp, deveined, peeled, and tails taken off. Guess what? I didn't do any of that work. And then, there are a few stragglers here. Come on, guys, in there, in you go. Then let's stir that up just a little bit, just to mix everything in. Now, let's add my favorite, the hominy. There's something almost, I can't express it. It's like hominy just has this comforting texture that the closest thing I can think of, to be honest with you, is snot, boogers. So maybe that calls back some childhood memories for you, maybe it doesn't. If it does, I'm not judging. I'm 2 cocktails in. I can't afford to judge, and we shouldn't judge anyway. So we're going to cover that up and put it to bed until it comes to a boil, and then we're going to simmer it for an hour. Now, after our hour is done, we're going to add our red sauce. We'll divvy it up between the pots, and then we will have our beautiful posole. Now, for next time, if there is a next time, assuming I survive the evening, I'm going to give you a little teaser. Ask yourselves, what is this? What is he going to make with these beautiful winterized cranberries, sage leaves, and rosemary? So until we meet again, and if we don't see each other before then, Merry Christmas. And remember what Christmas is about. It's about friends, family, and the birth of our Savior.